Well, it's the holiday season, and right around the corner is Christmas. And during this time of the year, it's time to be merry and joyous. And on Stay the Water, we look at none other than the good news. Happening here in Hampton Roads, we have none other than someone who is on your side, always looking to solve problems. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille, and you're joining us for our Good News series with Andy Fox with 10 on your side. We'll be right back in just a moment. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille. As always, thank you for joining us, as you always do, every Sunday at 10 a.m. as we broadcast from the campus of the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, from none other than WNSB Hot 91, the soul of VA. Listen, I know it's nippy out there. As a matter of fact, if it's nippy here in Southern Virginia, I know it's nippy across the entire Northeast and the rest of the country. So hopefully you're staying warm and hopefully you're staying well, because we've got a lot of great time left before we get to Christmas. So you got to enjoy Christmas coming up. But I tell you who's enjoying themselves right now, and that's all the graduates that just graduated from Norfolk State University on this past weekend. Congratulations to you for the hard work that you put in and the great things that you're going to do out in the world. One thing that we do here at Norfolk State is that we send out change makers into the world because of the education they receive here at Norfolk State. So again, congratulations to you, your families, for all the support that they gave you, all the cash apps they sent you, and all the prayers that they sent up. So enjoy your time. Again, congratulations to all of our graduates for all the great work that you have done. And listen, we had a phenomenal commencement. We had none other than who I believe is the brightest and the smartest congressman on the Hill, not just because he's my friend and our congressman for Norfolk State, but Bobby Scott was a phenomenal commencement speaker. Definitely encouraged the graduates and really showed the Spartan value that we have here. And none other than L. Louise Lucas, NSU alum, who also received her honorary doctorate, long overdue and definitely well-deserved. So congratulations to these two great individuals making a difference, not just here in Hampton Roads, but across the Commonwealth and impacting the country, because that's what Spartans do. So, as I said before, this time of the year, we look at the good news. We talk about a lot of hard things and differing things and different positions and beliefs and theories throughout the year, right? A lot of politics, a lot of stuff that's up and down. But this time of the year, from Thanksgiving to the New Year, I like to cover what's called the good news. The good news is an opportunity for us to look at people in our community that are doing great things and making a difference. And I thought about none other than my good friend, someone that people call when they can't call anyone else to make a difference in their lives. And that's none other than Andy Fox, investigative reporter and journalist from WAVY TV 10. Andy, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, Eric LaVille, my dear friend. And it was great to hear you talking about my other treasured friends, Bobby Scott and Louise Lucas. How about that? Bobby Scott, Louise Lucas, and Eric LaVille. Wow, what great friends I have.
Well, look, that's too high of a pedestal for me. So, to be with those two, but definitely, it was a great time for us Saturday, and again, all the hard work that the graduates put in is definitely paying off. Well, Andy, you and I, we've worked together for quite a long time now, and you're a staple here in the Hampton Roads area. Again, a native of Arlington, Virginia, graduate of Syracuse University, broadcast journalism, and, I didn't realize it, but you have a political side to you, which is why we work together a lot with your minor in political science. So also one-time candidate for Congress. But, tell the people, I want them to know a little bit more about you and why journalism. Because when I think of journalists, when I think of reporters, when we look at television and the old school reporters with the top hat and the pad and the pencil behind the ear, I think of Andy Fox. That classic look, getting down into it, popping around the corners, like, hey, kid, what happened in there? So to tell us about that, what caused you to be a part of this great profession?
Well, I think, and I tell this story when I speak with when I speak. I said, what got me doing this? And, I was a very mediocre, I was kind of very bland as far as talents go when I was in 7th, 8th, 9th, up to 10th grade. My brother was the star tennis player on the team, and I was the hanger-on and just not really a great athlete. And one day my father said, Andy, why don't you try out for the school play? And I had never been in a play before, and it just felt really outside the box, although at the time I didn't know what outside the box meant, but as I look back on it, it certainly was that. And so I tried out for this play, and it was it happened to be and I'm not sure that being in a play was a cool thing to do in high school then, but it was a cool play. I mean, and it was a cool movie at the time. And so I said, okay, I'll try out. So I went in, and I had the first audition, and there was a whole bunch of people there, and I went to the people who made who made the cut. I came back, and I had made the cut, and then I made another cut, and then there was a final session of improvisation, and I really killed that. And I could tell because I could hear people, laughing in the audience. And so the next morning I was going up the school hallway, and there was a cast call. We're going up to see if we made the cast. And my friend Bob Biaggi at the time was coming back down the hall. I remember it, and I'm sorry I'm going into so many details, but it was such a pivotal moment in my life. I remember everything about it. And he said, well, congratulations, Andy. And I said, well, that's good. He didn't tell me what it was, so I said, well, something good happened. And then my other friend, Eric Ellis, was looking at me and he says, Andy, I can't believe it. This is the first play you've tried out for, and you got the lead role. And it was R.P. McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then I went home, and I remember telling my dad, I said, Dad, I didn't make it. He goes, that's okay, Andy, just that you tried. Then I said, I made it. I'm R.P. McMurphy. And my friends and critics said, well, that's one role Andy didn't really have to act for because we all know he's crazy. And but it was a fantastic experience. And I tell students this when I'm speaking to them, that to be in a play, to be on the stage, it really does refine all the skill sets, memorization, confidence, being able to think on your feet, ad-libbing, everything that can make you successful in any kind of profession you can get on the stage. And it really did change my life. And and I look back on it and I say everything that has come after that moment in 10th grade began then. And I even John Reese, who lives in Philadelphia now, whenever we're doing Facebook and that stuff, I always say, Mr. Reese, you changed my life, because he's the one who gave me the lead role in that. And it really changed everything that has come after it. I wrote for the school newspaper. I did the morning announcements. I went to Syracuse University. I got a job as a television news journalist. I, became a reporter. I was down in Washington, North Carolina. I came here. I ran for Congress twice. So all of these things are happening, and it all began in 10th grade. And this is what I want to tell everyone that's listening, especially if you're a young person. If you're at Norfolk State, wherever you are, you've got to think outside the box sometimes, and you've got to take risks, and you've got to take the chance that you fail, because you never know where going down that path will lead you.
Wow. When they say that the arts have no place or value in our schools, I think this story needs to be in the forefront.
I mean, it really changed everything. And when I remember Linwood Branch, who's a friend of mine, I was speaking to a very large group over at the town center. There was, I think it was a Virginia Beach school event, and I was the guest speaker. And I told that in Linwood Branch, Andy, that was the most fantastic speech. And I included that and other things and everything, because I really wanted to strike a nerve, and I wish that I had someone like me, telling me things like this, because, well, I did. It was my father. Okay. To be honest with you, it was my dad. He said, go try this out. I said, oh, I don't want to do that. My gosh. But it was a great moment in my life.
Our parents tend to be, I say this all the time, the older I get, the more I realize how wise my father was. Or, but I guess it's that youth, right? That youth, we think we know it all, but actually we don't know anything at all.
I look back and my dad was so right. He was, and I don't know what my future is, but I do know that I love what I do here at WAVY, and I'm already at the age of 64. And my father, and I come from a CIA family. My dad was with the Deputy Director of Science and Technology, and so he was a government worker, and it was very frustrating for him towards the end of his career, because I think he was going through some type of mild depression maybe, and there were problems at work, and he couldn't come home and talk about it because it's the CIA, and you don't talk about things because it's the CIA. And he retired on the first day he was able to when he was 55. I mean, 55. And so I have already worked 9 years longer than he worked, and I really don't see stopping. I love what I do, and every morning I wake up and I love to go to work, and I love the challenges of doing stories that impact people and 10 on your side and people who have problems. And I really and I've been recognized for this, and I just feel like I have such a great job, and I'm blessed to have it. And every morning I wake up, I always pray to Jesus, and I always ask him to let me help someone else. How many people can I help today? How many people can I help in the low-income neighborhood, and they're giving eviction notices? This is a story I did, in the last week over at London Oaks over in Portsmouth, and helping people and making things happen, because I do have that opportunity to do that, to do things for the good in the community. And I'm just, Eric, I'm just blessed to be in this position.
It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Eric LaVille, and you're joining us for our Good News series. Tonight, we have on with us my good friend and someone who's well known throughout the Hampton Roads area. It's Andy Fox, investigative reporter, journalist, and also head political bureau reporter, doing things in the community, not just reporting stories, not just on politics, but helping to solve problems. Andy, when we talked about, the beginning of the show, you and I, we were having conversations before we came on air about good news and why Andy Fox. And I mentioned 10 on your side. We see it all the time, when there's an issue that's out there that people have nowhere to go, they call 10 on your side, and Andy Fox pops up. With WAVY TV 10, Hampton Roads #1 TV website, known for breaking news and weather, sports, and all of that. When you look at 10 on your side, it says, contact us to resolve issues. You to resolve issues. Where did that drive come from to have a segment, a news station, to say, hey, we're the guys you can call, but you can't call anyone else?
Well, WAVY's very fortunate in that we have a very strong and loyal following. And they don't watch us all the time, but when something really bad is happening, hurricanes perhaps, the 531 disaster in Virginia Beach, 9/11, all these other, the big-time stories, the wars, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, these types of things, when it really matters, our ratings just are very strong, and I think it goes to the familiarity, the longevity, the number of years that our team has been together. I mean, I've been in this town since 1986, and minus, a couple of years that you alluded to running for Congress. And that's a long time. I mean, I'm a journalist with 40 years, and that means something, I think. And it's a dedication to – I dedicated my life, really. In 1995, I could have gone to CNN. I was getting married and actually had a very good interview to do freelance work at CNN in 95 with a great man, Frank Sesno, who was interviewing me. And he said, Andy, I can only give you part-time work, but I know it will lead somewhere. So I came back, and my wife, Joan, at the time, I told her about this. I said, something big's going to happen. And she started to cry. She was crying because she wanted to leave Alexandria. That's where she was living. And I grew up in Northern Virginia. I grew up in Fairfax. Traffic's terrible and all that. She wanted to go to the beach. And so I remember the breakfast that I was having with Gary Stokes at the time and Ed Munson, who was then the general manager of the station. And they thought that we were having a breakfast at the Town Point Club for me to announce them that I was leaving. And I gave a slip, a piece of paper, to Ed Munson. Well, actually, I think he gave it to Gary Stokes, and it said, "I'm staying." And it was the most joyous time for the three of us because we all knew that I was making the right decision. And it's the decision they wanted me to make as well. But it's a decision that I thought was the best for my future, and I've never regretted that. I've never regretted, because I've done plenty of network stories. I covered the war in Port-au-Prince, Haiti back in '94. That's a whole other story in and of itself, how I found my way to Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these great things have happened because I have stayed at WAVY. And that's, I look around, you have Don Slater and all these people have been so long, and Tom Shad, and the list goes on and on and on of people who have been here for extended periods of time. People you might not, recognize, Karen Graneman and others who have dedicated their lives to working here. And I shouldn't be mentioning people because, then you always leave someone out.
Yeah. But we talk about those individuals that made an impression upon our lives that really helped to shape us, those that have been part of our journey. And, with 10 on your side, there are a lot of impactful stories that people have. And, of course, we only see the highlights of it. We only see, what the issue was and the resolution of it, right? But, there's a lot more that goes into it. Andy, give us one instance of a 10 on your side story that you did that really made an impact on your life and those individuals.
Well, you asked me to think of these, and it's just every day I come to work, there's something new. It might not be on the same level as all the others, but it's always on that day a very important story. It's an important story because it's impacting someone who needs help, who needs and by the way, free help, right? Okay? I have a lot of people call me and say, I went to this lawyer, and, the lawyer he didn't want to bother with it, but he said, you know what you should do? Go to Andy Fox.
Wow.
And I get a lot of referrals from attorneys, which is so nice. But I was thinking about that. There was this lady named Ruth Furness, and she had ALS, and she was in the tail end of her life, and the insurance company was going to cut her off for coverage because they knew that there was no survivability, that she was going to die. There's one small problem. Her husband had paid an upper-end insurance policy to cover things like this, completely prepared, and he had paid it over year after year after year. And I started tackling this. I said, you are going, the story was the insurance company is going to make good on this because he has paid for this insurance coverage. And the fact that you think that Ruth Furness is going to die maybe tomorrow or the next day, you are still obligated because he has paid for this insurance coverage, and that's why you get insurance, to cover her in her medical condition. And they ended up, and I remember talking to a friend of mine who was working at Centera at the time, Dale Gauding, and I think that she had been there. She had been at Centera, and he and I had a private conversation. I think he said, "Andy, this is a tough one because the insurance company, they don't give in to stuff like this." And lo and behold, they did, and they did because of the story that we ran. They did because of the persistence and the dedication of covering this story for Ruth Furness and her family, and it ended up winning a regional Emmy. Okay. And it was recognized because of the heavy lifting to get this story over the hump, to get this to happen. And it's one of the most rewarding stories I've ever covered, to help Ruth Furness and holding insurance companies accountable to honor what has been promised. Okay? Jenny Hatch. I covered a story with Jenny Hatch. She's Down syndrome. She had Down syndrome. And it was a case of the mother wanted her to live with, not to live with her, but to be in a group home and to use the payments, her voucher that she gets to cover her, and they're very, it's worth $125,000 a year, but she didn't want to live with a mother. She didn't want to live in the group home. She wanted to live with the friends of the owners of the pawn shop that had employed her. Okay, and she wanted to do that, and it went to court. And we covered it. We were really the only ones We were the only ones covering it until the last day. And the Judge Pugh, and I was not. I covered this story from beginning to end. Except my son plays tennis at Hampton Sydney, and the time he was playing in at North, here locally. So I had to go to Charlottesville for a tournament, and the Judge Pugh said, "Jenny, I don't know if you can live on your own. However," and then the courtroom exploded because they knew what that one word, words matter. However, and then he completed it. "I am going to side with you because you have friends who want to have you live with them. They want to give you a job, and they want you to live there if you want to live there. And Jenny, where do you want to live?" She wanted to live with her friends, not with her mom, not who was going to put her in a group home, but to live with her friends. And that was a major story. And it wasn't just some story. It was a civil rights story. It was really at the base a civil rights story that people can live where they want to live. And, of course, she was in that part of the spectrum where it could have gone either way, but it went her way because she had support in the community. And I remember that. That was a very meaningful story for me. And then doing a lot of the stories like doing Road Rebels. I did Road Rebels for, I think it was maybe 14 years, and going after getting traffic situations solved and making a difference in the community in that way. So, Eric, there are so many of them, but that's just a few that have meant a lot. And, of course, the hurricanes. Can't forget the hurricanes. Past perpendicular, right? Past perpendicular. We did that. That was in 2011 for a hurricane, and we came back, and this was before I knew what the word viral meant. Right. And I'm old school. I'm really old school. All these wonderful people that work with me in this newsroom, many of them are young. They are so much smarter than I am because I'm so old school. I still can't. I still do the bank ledger, okay? That's how old I am. And, I remember payphones. And I did this thing called Past Perpendicular, and if you go online, you can see it. And at the end of the day, I went out there, and it was that the wind. I was past perpendicular because the wind was able to hold me up, and so I did reporting past perpendicular out on the beach down in South Nags Head. And when we got back that night and we were having a few drinks and everything, I always remember Aaron Kurtz, a dear photographer friend of mine, said, "Foxer, you won't believe it. 25,000 people have watched Past Perpendicular." And that happened over the period. I think that the first day it was 10,000, and then it went to 15,000, and then it went to 20,000. And then some guy wrote a song about it, and it just kind of got a life all of its own. And I'll always remember Past Perpendicular because that was the first time I did something that went what we call viral. Because everyone out there, there was a time where there was no such thing as viral.
Well, listen, it's always been viral. They just got a new word for it, right?
Right.
Andy, when I
want to thank you, Eric, before we run out of time. I want to thank you, Eric LaVille, for your dedication to helping us at WAVY, for all of the political coverage. And let me tell you, everyone out there, there's a long list of predictions that Eric LaVille has made. I mean, back in 2016, he predicted that Trump would win. Isn't that correct? Didn't you do that?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, give us a couple of the other ones. What were the other big ones?
Well, the other big ones was that the Democrats would flip the houses and win the House of Delegates and the Senate. That was a big surprise by a lot of people. Now, unofficially, before I was on air, I said that Barack Obama would win presidency with some friends of mine. A bunch of other lawyers were sitting at the table, but those things. But to your point, I was actually about to segue into some politics talk because listen, politics, like every young man from the South with a seersucker suit, a poplin suit, it bites us like a mosquito, right? We dive into it. What is that thing that got you interested in politics? Because, again, you and I, we just have this synergy. Look, give us a camera.
We're great together. We do great television. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. If I'm interviewing Eric Laville, I know it's going to be good. I think I got, and I want to also say this. I ran as a Democrat, but I'm very unbiased. I'm very middle of the road. I don't have an agenda. I don't do anything based on some type of an agenda. And let me tell you something. I have many Republican political friends and many Democrat political friends, and I love going to the General Assembly. And I want to say this about our elected public officials, and I know that there's, exceptions to this, but we are blessed to have a General Assembly, all right, and an executive branch and a judicial branch in Virginia that we can really be proud of. And I love going to the General Assembly because whether you're Republican or Democrat, the people that are up there are winners. Okay? And you might not agree with everything they do political, but I just love being around them because they're bright and there's interesting, stimulating conversation, and they have, I believe, a desire in their heart to achieve and to make Virginia, our great Commonwealth, a better place. And I just really want to give a shout out to our elected public officials, Republican, Democrat, Independent, the local level, the state level, and the federal level for just really making a difference in the lives of the people. And I wanted to get that out because I've always wanted to say that. I've never said it. I love going to the General Assembly, to do day work. But we don't go up there too often now, Eric, because we have a political – we used to go up a lot, but we have our very fine Capitol Bureau up there. But I think I got involved – well, I had been at WAVY from 86 to 90, and an opportunity came along for me to run for Congress. And I will tell you this, I did not have the support of the I did not have the backbone of the Democratic leadership. And I don't want to go into any names or anything, but the power base of the Democratic Party did not think that they wanted someone to run against then Congressman Herb Bateman. But other people did, and I ended up getting the nomination. And in 1990 with the old district, and that's a whole other story, I got 49.1% of the vote. And I didn't win, but I lost by I think it was 2,300 votes, which was the fourth or fifth closest race in the country where the incumbent won. And I kind of always enjoyed politics, and I just had a great time running for Congress. And then, so I came back and ran again in 1992, and of course, my dear friend Bobby Scott was elected. But the districts changed, and the first became more Republican, and it's really one of the most conservative districts to this day here in Virginia, the first district. And I did very well in the African American community, and of course that when they went through redistricting, a lot of the Hampton African American community where I did very well, where I beat Herb Bateman by 4,000 votes, was shifted over to the third district, and then it became just more, and so it wasn't close in the second race, and then that was it, and I decided to come back to WAVY, and have never regretted that either. But that was a great sabbatical. That was a great downtime from journalism to do that. And I'll tell you one thing right now, you work hard. When you're out running for political office, you're working hard. You're meeting a lot of people. You're going to parades. You're telling people what you think. You're going door to door. It is, and Eric, I went from 100, I got down to 168. And I'm now at 215. I'd like to get back. I'd like to get back down to at least 170. I look gaunt. I lost so much weight. I didn't look healthy. and now I look really healthy. But it was a really great experience.
Well, listen, one thing that we do enjoy, whether you're 215, 168, we definitely enjoy seeing you here in Hampton Roads. You're definitely a jewel. Without you, there are a lot of people that simply would not have had their lives change. And you changed their lives. And we are thankful to have you. Continue doing what you're doing. And I look forward to working with you more in 2025 as we're gearing up for a new election season here in the General Assembly.
Eric, I can't wait for it. It's going to be great and great things ahead. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with your listeners. And you're such a great person and a great friend, and I'm blessed to have you in my life. Thank you, Eric.
You got it. And listen, for all of you listening, thank you again for listening as you always do. Until next time, be good, be great, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Carrie Washington, and you're listening to State of the Water with award-winning host Dr. Eric Claville.